to have a look at this work. It's a porcelain filling being done by myself. We had a lot of consults with this patient of mine, and finally we came into conclusion to do a porcelain veneer. A single porcelain veneer on a front tooth is actually a very difficult work because we have to match it with the next tooth. Now, one is porcelain, one is tooth structure. They have to match 100%, the color and everything. So it's going to be a very interesting case to look at. The tooth had trauma, had a filling for a very long time. The filling went yellow, obviously, after all these years. So I removed the filling. I am now creating the margin. And it's very important to know that you want to make sure you don't remove a lot of tooth structure. You do not basically over prepare the tooth and give it room as much as necessary for the veneer to come on. So you want what? 0.5 millimeter, 1 millimeter maximum. I'm removing all the extra fillings that's on the tooth. You want to make sure your veneer goes and sits on tooth structure, not on a composite filling, not on a decay. So making sure that everything's good and healthy after removal, and we have only removed about a 0.7 or 8 millimeters. I am now making sure my margins are very visible, because that's where, if the tooth doesn't meet the margin perfectly, the margin of the porcelain, if there's a bit of a gap, food gets in, bacteria gets in, and you will have a cavity. And that's when the whole drama starts. I'm using a white stone to polish the surface of the tooth. There have been some studies showing that it also removes the collagen from the surface of the tooth, which means that it will get cemented better to the veneer. And then I always use a Softlex disc to make sure the edges of the prep is smooth enough, because otherwise, if it's pointy, it will put a lot of pressure on the ceramic. I'm now putting a 000 retraction cord underneath the gum. Now, because it's 000, I'm gonna go twice with it, and just it will retract the gum a little bit, making sure we can visibly see the margin, and my technician and ceramist can also visibly see the margin. That's the most important thing. The retraction cord is in. Then I am placing a composite on the surface of the tooth, because I could get a key putty from the old filling, but the patient didn't really love the shape of that tooth, so I listened to her and what shape she likes. I am giving that shape to the tooth using composite only, adding a little bit to the buccal surface, and basically I will use polymerizing light. Then I will take a key putty and use that to create her temporary veneer. You can also send this to the lab and ask for a wax up. That's what I usually do. But in this case, because we were in a rush, as in the patient was in a rush, and also I knew exactly what shape she wants, we had a lot of chat and communication, it was very easy for me to do. If it's more than one tooth, I would definitely ask for a wax up from the lab to make sure that it's just easier and nicer, and it's done digitally rather than by hand. So the composite is placed on. I'm going to use a blue light to polymerize it in a second. And it's very important to make sure that you get the shape that your patient wants. The good thing about it is, once I place it on, I can show it to my patient and make sure that she's happy with the shape. The color is not final. So my assistant's helping me mixing the putty. That's going to be used as a putty key, and I'm going to take an impression from the patient and use it to create her temporary afterward. Now we are taking an impression, which is the most important part of this procedure, I would say, using light body, a little bit of air, not too much, so the light body goes under the gum. If it's too much, it will create more bubbles. And then using heavy body at the same time. It's called a sandwich technique, or when I studied, that's what it was called. Waiting about 4 minutes for it to settle. I usually take 2 impressions, and I also use a CEREC scanner to send the scan to my ceramist, so they have options. If one impression not good, they can use the second one. If that's not good, they can use a scan. The last thing anybody wants is to call the patient to come back, get numb again, just because the impression wasn't good enough. And all of us know how much that can annoy our patients, so we want to avoid that. Doing a scan and then cutting out the digital parts that are not necessary. Remember that the scanner is taking a lot of photos in 1 second and adding them, stitching them together. So if you have a lot of lip structure and tongue and stuff, the file might crash, it might not go to the lab at all, you cannot send it, or they can't open it. So you want to send them only the parts they need. Now I always scan the whole jaw to be able to get basically the neighboring teeth, but also to show to my ceramist the actual perfect bite of the patient. And when I'm scanning for the bite or getting a bite registration, I always sit the patient upright. The chin is parallel to the floor to make sure she's biting correctly, not sliding backward. After this, we are going to place the